Shakur Stevenson will stay retired unless he gets a big fight. It's a big fight or bust. So says his friend, Keyshawn Davis. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Very interesting stuff. It is fight week, at least for Keyshawn Davis, steps up versus Jose Pedraza. Now, Keyshawn did a recent interview, and he spoke on Shakur Stevenson's retirement. He says, and I quote, "There's politics in the game, but I could say this. Shakur has been calling out all the champions, and people have been denying him. So after a while, you get sick of it. Shakur has made millions in the sport already with smart investments that are going to keep him afloat. So at this point, he's like, F boxing. I retire." He's a 3-division champion. Name somebody at his age who's a 3-division champion, but champions don't want to fight him. It's definitely a stressful situation. I understand his retirement. Keyshawn goes on to say, Shakur, he's only going to come back for big fights. He's not going to come to fight nobody less than a big fight. That's why he was tweeting back with Ryan Garcia. He would love to fight Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney, and maybe even Teofimo. I don't know. He's going to come back for a big fight, but this man has been calling out big fights for years. He hasn't gotten one. So expect him to be gone for some time. End quote, Keyshawn Davis. Now, full disclosure, this is not coming from Shakur Stevenson. I just attributed it to the person that said it, which is Keyshawn Davis. However, the reason why I believe that this is potentially like video worthy or this could be correct information is because we know the relationship between Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson are boys, they're partners. So at the end of the day, he could have already talked to him. Like, I don't think, like, if this is your friend, and this is public knowledge on both sides, Keyshawn Davis has admitted that Shakur Stevenson is his folks, and same with Shakur Stevenson. He even said, Shakur particularly, said that basically everybody's on the chopping block except for Keyshawn Davis. He's like, that's the only guy in or around my division that I would not fight. Absolutely, that's my brother, right? So I'm going to take what Keyshawn Davis is saying and apply it to the situation because of that relationship that we all know of. That being said, I think this is a very, very poor choice from Shakur Stevenson, and I will explain why. For starters, Shakur is not the first fighter in the history of the sport to be avoided, to be ducked, or at least have a very difficult time nabbing some of the big fights that they're looking for. This is not foreign to the world of boxing. We have seen this time and time again where certain fighters, they struggle a bit to land the opportunities in the fights that they're looking for. However, what you don't do is haul off and retire prematurely in your career off of not a high note, but a low note. I don't really see the stance that you're making. So the reason I say a low note is because everyone is roasting Shakur Stevenson's very last outing with Edwin De Los Santos. Neither one of them looked great, but the onus was on Shakur Stevenson, who is the Olympian, the silver medalist. He had more fights, I believe, and he was the guy. It was on his home network. It was a top-ranked ESPN event. He was the top-ranked ESPN fighter. Edwin De Los Santos was the visitor. He's the A side in that equation. He made more money. He's the guy who's praised about his skills. He's the guy that constantly talks about his skills and how he's better than his peers and things like that. So yeah, the pressure was on him, and we know these things. Like, it's like Canelo versus John Ryder. Clearly, Canelo fighting at home in Mexico, the pressure to perform would be on Canelo Alvarez. It's usually pretty easy to determine what side or what person has more pressure on them in said equation. And it's no brainer that Shakur was the guy with the more pressure. And part of the pressure is self-imposed, if I'm being honest, because Shakur talks a lot. He tweets a lot. He gets on X and, rants and says his feelings and tells the world that these boys can't touch him and stuff like that. So the reason I think this is a bad look for Shakur Stevenson is because you are not coming off of a great performance. In fact, there are people who are laughing at your retirement. They're saying good riddance, stay retired. I'm glad he retired. I've even seen people joking and they're saying stuff like, how can I get sleep now that Shakur Stevenson is retired? Obviously, that's a dig at Shakur Stevenson, saying that his fight style puts them to sleep. There's also people posting these snippets and pictures from the Edwin fight, calling Shakur a runner and a track star and things like that. Now, me personally, I am a realistic boxing fan. I am a realistic boxing reporter, and I am realistic as a critic. So I don't think that's Shakur's best effort. I'm not going to judge Shakur's whole existence on that one fight that he won. It's not like he lost. Like maybe if he lost the fight, maybe you look into it a little bit deeper. So I think Shakur has better efforts out there and available in the future. However, I am also a strategist. I come from Sun Tzu and The Art of War and Robert Greene and the 48 Laws of Power. I come from that cloth where I do believe in strategy, and I don't really see the strategy in retiring off of a low point in your career, probably the lowest point in your career because of the way people are roasting your last outing. So that to me doesn't make sense. It doesn't put you in the driver's seat. Keyshawn Davis is saying that, and again, he could have very well have talked to Shakur since this retirement. So that's why I'm taking his word. I don't think you could threaten to pull out of a fight. I don't think you can threaten to cancel the concert unless you're a top name, you know, like you're Drake or Taylor Swift or Beyonce, because best believe that person would get accommodated. Like, for example, let's say it's a hotel stay and Drake or Taylor Swift is having a bad time at the hotel and they're threatening to go to another hotel in Las Vegas. I guarantee you the MGM properties or whatever particular hotel Taylor Swift is at, they are going to be more than willing to accommodate her, get her the better room, or, you know, fix and right the wrongs. But that's the bigger you are and the bigger you are as a superstar that these things exist. And Shakur Stevenson, he's just not coming off of that type of path. So I don't really get it. This whole like I'm flexing retirement. The other thing is, if you felt you were avoided and ducked or whatever, being on the sidelines, how are you really going to only come back for a big fight? What's gonna happen, and mark this video down, is Shakur is the champion with the WBC. There's only going to be so much time that elapses before the WBC puts out something or requests something from Shakur Stevenson that, are you retired or are you not retired, so the division can move on and we can get that belt back from you, you know? And ironically enough, Shakur Stevenson, when he said these things, I never really believed it from the beginning, but I don't think he really thought this through. I think he was frustrated and he's mad that Navarrete and Lomachenko and Kambosos are getting title fights on the same network as him. And you can understand and sympathize with him, but it doesn't change that I don't think he thought this through. For example, Teofimo Lopez just tried this. This is your roster mate, somebody who's with Top Rank. He just tried the same play. And then what happened is he beat Josh Taylor, said he was retired, and then it came to a point where he kept doing interviews saying he's retired. Then it got to a point where the WBO, where he won the title versus Josh Taylor, the WBO came out and said, what is it? Are you retired or not? Because if you're really retired, then we're going to strip you of the belt or take the belt or give us the belt back, and whoever's ranked or whoever we decide can contend for that belt. And Teofimo was forced to update the WBO with his real intent. So it reminds me of the scene on 8 Mile with Eminem, shout out to Marshall, where Eminem raps to his opponent from the ops from Papa Doc's clique. He said, ain't you listen to the last round, meathead? Pay attention, you're saying the same that he said. M said, ain't you listen to the last round, meathead? Pay attention, you're saying the same that he said. That's what it reminds me of. We just witnessed Teofimo pump fake a whole retirement, and then he was forced to update the sanctioning body with his real intent. So that's what I'm saying to Shakur Stevenson. Ain't you listened to the last round, meathead? Like, you just seen Teofimo do the same thing and it didn't work for him. Nothing really changed and he was forced to update. So I think the same thing will happen with the WBC. They're not going to just sit there and let Shakur Stevenson be retired and stagnate the whole division while he pouts or whatever because he's upset he's not getting the fight. Again, I understand why he's upset and he should be upset, but that's not the way to go about it, especially coming off the performance he just had with Edwin De Los Santos. That's my honest opinion. You're not the first fighter who's frustrated. Errol Spence was frustrated because he wanted bigger fights and he couldn't get the Kell Brook. But, you know, that's boxing. It's going to be almost a waiting game. Jerron Boots Ennis is frustrated. He wants Errol. He wanted Errol when he was a champ. He wants Terrence Crawford. And it doesn't look like at the moment he's going to get either of those fights. So that's part of boxing. You know, we've seen it. And guys, Keith Thurman wanted Floyd Mayweather, never got the fight. You had Amir Khan wanted Pacquiao. He wanted Mayweather, didn't get those fights. You know, so sometimes it's a waiting game and you got to just keep doing your thing and corner people and keep knocking down doors until you get what you want. That's what I firmly believe in. You ain't never no ego to be a quitter. I don't quit. You know, when the going gets tough and, you know, even when I'm up against it, I don't quit. I don't bend. I don't falter. I don't fold. Nothing. So I think the same goes for Shakur Stevenson. Announcing a retirement, knowing the whole world knows that's likely not going to last, is just kind of weird. And he's never come out and corrected it. So I just think it's really a weird play from Shakur Stevenson, and I don't see what it accomplishes. And then as far as what Keyshawn is saying, waiting for a big fight, I mean, if the division was already overlooking you, I mean, what are they going to do with you on the sideline? You know, you just waiting and waiting and waiting. I mean, good luck with that. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comments.